Logan Robinson's here.
What is going on? What is happening? Can you hear me fine?
Oh, we can hear you great. Looks like you are in the dome still.
We are in the dome. We just with the interviews after the game. I don't even know if I can swap my camera over, so we're gonna do that right there.
Nice. Looking good.
We are
looking cool.
We are still recovering after a thriller there. I was there in the end zone right across the field.
Oh, you were right there, huh?
You know what? I was thinking they did it before. They had the block punt earlier in the game, and I was like, what about if they do that again? And sure enough, right in front of Florida State's end zone crowd, they pull it off right there. What a game! Fan base is here, electric, loud, but Florida State just comes away with it. Mark, what a trip!
Logan, I'm surprised that you're able to talk. I'm like surprised that you're even talking without like the heart palpitations aren't still going.
I know. It was, the crowd being there too, it helped. I think Florida State, for the most part, being able to kind of screw with LSU. It might have messed up some miscommunication. I don't know. Like I said, I was down there on the field, didn't get to see the full-on block, but Shaheem Brown, I guess, was the guy that came away with it and pulled off the big play.
He flew in from the corner, from the edge, and he was outstretched. He timed it perfect. He came off the ball like a bullet. It was a great block. Yeah.
It was phenomenal. Yeah, I got to see Jared Burrs come away with 2 sacks. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning for him. I think there was 5-6 GMs, not just scouts, but NFL GMs in attendance at this game. So you can kind of go ahead and say, hey, let me jot down number 5 and Garnet and Gold to keep an eye on for the next couple of years, since he's still a youngin'. So that's the fun part about it. Florida State has Jared Burrs. I think everybody's thinking it's just a one and done like Jermaine Johnson marked, but he's still got at least one more year. I think you're definitely just gonna have one more year. But what a game for a guy that needed to come in, get to the quarterback. Jaden Daniels, we knew could run around, but just after hearing some of the reports and the coverage over there in Baton Rouge, it just didn't seem like he was connecting well down the field for those explosive shots, and you didn't really see a lot of those today. A lot of intermediate stuff, and there was miscommunication. There were drops by both teams. Just a wild roller coaster that seemed like it wouldn't end at all in the fourth quarter. It was just not going to end.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, obviously the game went down to the last play. It could have been won by either team, but if LSU would have won that game, they would have really stolen that game. It was close, and these two teams are comparable, but Florida State, they played a better game. They were the better team tonight.
Yeah, I felt after Florida State was you saw them starting to manage the clock, and they did that last weekend. It's Duquesne, so yada, yada, yada. But still, they were running out that clock, and they were able to find Shashawn Ward. That was their running back tonight. We knew that it wasn't going to be a whole trio, 100+ like we saw last weekend. Someone had to be the guy, and ended up being Shashawn Ward. That was big from him. We got to see Cam McDonald too. There was actually tight end play. Tight end play tonight, Mark, that we got to see. So
well, I think the size of the receivers, when you look at Johnny Wilson, obviously, Pokey made some tremendous plays. They had the one flea flicker reverse, kind of the window dressing with the reverse and the flea flicker for the first touchdown. That was a great call. That totally duped the LSU secondary.
Yeah, that was wild. So we've seen that in practices throughout the fall camp. They practiced that quite a bit. And so whenever they lined up and they started shuffling the ball around, and I was like, yep, here it goes. But it all depends, though, if Jordan Travis can throw it far enough. And he was able to throw it far enough, and it got close there at the end, though, Mark. It got close, but it did what it needed to do. And shout out to Pokey Wilson. What a game for him, a guy that was probably one of the most consistent wide receivers in camp, and we talked about that, but he never got a lot of the praise and love because he's a veteran. He was not a newcomer. He just didn't have all the hoorah kind of stuff because he'd just been in the system already. But you see him come in, and that's what a veteran is supposed to do. I mean, he grabs that touchdown from Jordan Travis, and then later in the corner, a phenomenal one-handed grab that,
Yes.
I mean, I there's so many things I want to go back and watch, but that one is at the top of my list. That was just a big time game from a guy, like I said, when you have that, there's veteran leadership, Jordan Travis now composed, and you've got these vets. That's just how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to rely on these guys.
Logan Robinson, Knoll Game Day, breaking it down for us. Florida State with the thriller 24-23. We'll obviously go nuts on Wednesday and talk it up, and you need to get on over to Knoll Game Day, and they will have all sorts of coverage on this. I appreciate Logan being here. Anytime you got to bail, Logan, I'll keep you here as long as I can keep you, but whenever you got to bail, don't worry about it. Okay. In terms of the offense, Logan, it's this interesting combination of like a power running game with the three backs. And then Jordan Travis, obviously, he's the focal point, him running around doing his thing. And he seems to have reached a level where he pretty much always knows when he needs to take off with it versus when he's got to stick in the pocket. He's making great decisions. He owns the offense. He's got control of it. He's grown so much.
He has, and I was going to mention his composure. You just see him settle in and just felt so relaxed. We didn't see that kind of player out of him, not even last year, really. Just felt like he was the game manager out of every football player on this field. And you felt, if you're an FSU fan, you felt comfortable on your end too, maybe not so much in this crowd, but back at home that Jordan Travis is there because he can be a threat. If he can throw, he throws, and he answered a lot of people's questions with that. And then if he needs to run, he'll run, but he continued to try to stay looking down the field, and that's what made up for Florida State getting those third down conversions, which, once again, they did that last week. It seems to be a pretty good trend for them to start off the season, getting those third down conversions and getting across the sticks for a first down. So it was nice to see Jordan Travis come in, get the lay of the land, and manage this football field here in New Orleans.
You know who makes some ridiculous kind of plays, who just seems like a ball of energy that provides a spark for the defense, is Renardo Green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a nice hit there. That's probably number 2 on my list of what I need to go back and look at. But he set the tone, and that's exactly what you want as long as you're not going a little overboard. Norvell does not like stupid penalties. But, yeah, that was nice. And I had talked very highly of him. I thought he was going to be, your CB1, I guess you could say, your best corner coming into this game. And sure enough, he made some plays here and there. And, that hit right there just made sure to keep the defense going there. And, we're still waiting on some news for Fabian Lovett. He, on that last drive, went down. I saw him limping over here to one of the 30 friggin' minutes that we waited out here for them to get that call right. And he was limping out. We'll see that, because that could be a big time loss for Florida State if Fabian Lovett has a pretty lengthy injury. And I'm trying to think if there's anything more. I know a few guys obviously dinged up, and Coach Norvell said that a few guys will get some rest. They'll have a rest for a couple of days, and then he's expecting this team to continue the energy that they have for practice next week. So be interested to head out to the IPF on Tuesday or Wednesday.
We know you got to fly. As you're walking off the field, we'll take one more comment from you here, because, and I know we will talk this up big on Wednesday, but, there's that much difference between them walking off the field with this enormous win over an LSU team that's really talented and all that, versus coming off blowing a game that they had a pitch play inside the 2-yard line and they fumble, and then 99 yards by LSU. Like, that could have been a disaster where they're kind of thinking, here we go again. It's a program that's on the brink of either breaking through and doing big things or having some more issues like we've seen the last 4 or 5 years. So obviously this win is it was that close to being a disaster, but it could be a big breakthrough.
Yep, exactly. That's one thing that they did last year. We'd see those silly mistakes, and Shaheem Brown talked about it after the game, that they last year just could not figure out a way to sometimes finish games when they needed to, or they, just let up when, they let a team come in and strike. And so, FSU had their mistakes. LSU also had their mistakes, but at the end, they end up being the winner. But if you think about it, those kind of mistakes that were being made, those can be fixed. Florida State should have won by a good amount more. It's just silly, just mental things. And this game is huge for them to start off the season, because now you've already set up the standard. Unless, this team makes a wild run in front of us, this is going to be your setter for all of the crazy atmospheres that you're going to go through. Luckily you'll be at home this year for 2 of your big time games against Clemson and Florida, but you're still going to travel to some other games that are going to be more of a hostile environment than having, 50, 55,000, 60,000 FSU fans in attendance, which were tonight. And shout out to the Florida State fans. I know there might be some in here in the chat, that were here at the game, but if you were, that was some wild energy coming from both fan bases. But Florida State traveling this far and showing up with this big of a crowd was ultra impressive here in New Orleans.
Logan, we know you got a ton of things going on, and you traveled all the way there. You got a big trip back, just everything you got going on. So I appreciate you taking the time to stop by and break things down for us.
Absolutely, Mark. I appreciate you. I'll see you on Wednesday night. Have a good evening.
Sounds good, man.
College football is back.
Absolutely, man.